giving Kat a second here to join us. We're actually before time for a while, for once, I mean. So, hang on there for a second. That's a lot of love. Nice. And smileys. That's a good experience. Let's see. I think it's calling to you. Tilt it a little bit. Oh, it's tilted. It's tilted. We always have technical issues. That's why I started a minute earlier too. Kat, I see your text. What's it like on your side? Can you join or something? I did that twice, but I can try again. Accept. And then I say go live with Kat. We always have to wait.
Okay, I see it's working now.
Hello, you made it.
Hi. I don't see, but it's snowing out there. Do you see the snowstorm?
I see that there are things going on outside.
Yeah, it's the first time like of real snow right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a little bit yesterday, and I wasn't really prepared for that. So I was outside. Oh, it's actually these teams here, and they are very, very good at sucking in snow and making your legs freeze.
Anyway, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Take my pen. And today we're going to discuss about a beautiful, very positive topic: how to break free from emotional shame.
Yes, and of course, there are many ways of doing that. But one thing I do want to offer is for this situation when people are in a situation where they feel kind of trapped, in this emotional manipulation of what's going on. Sometimes one of the reasons that they do not dare leave the situation is because how am I going to feel? What's going to happen? Where will I be? What's going on? It's unknown, right? And sometimes the fear of the unknown is so big it keeps people stuck where they are. So one of the things we can actually do is our minds can do extraordinary things, and with just a little bit of practice, we can become very good at creating scenarios that gives us comfort, even though it might be a new scenario we're entering into. This is why I think it makes a lot of sense to practice that a little bit. And it's also something you can do by yourself fairly quickly. And based on how the mind works, if you get a little bit of experience in doing something, you can become better at it. Makes sense?
Right.
Okay. So now, I happen to be from Denmark. And Denmark is famous for a couple of things. Some of the pastries and so on is really delicious. The red and white flag and stuff, and very happy people. So one of the reasons attributed why Danish people are happy. Something called hygge, which is H-Y-G-T-E, hygge. And it's more than just a thing, it's a concept, it's a way of being. And when people ask me, people from all over the world, what is hygge? What is it like? I say, here's a good explanation, and you, Kat, will have an extra good chance of understanding it right now, since you were just outside in the snow. So one of the explanations of hygge is, imagine it's a cold day. You have been outside, you're freezing, you're cold, there might be snow, there's wind, it's not comfortable. So when you're freezing, then you arrive at a good friend's place, and that will come right into the situation now. You arrive at a good friend's place, they welcome you inside, they offer you can sit down in a comfortable chair, they give you a cup of your favorite drink, beverage, whatever it is that you hold in your hand, so you can feel the warmth, warming up your cold body or hands and stuff. You have a sip and you kind of relax into that chair. Right? You can even have a soothing conversation with them. They pay attention to you. The only thing that matters in the world is you and them. That calms the nervous system down. Now, this was just a little story, but when you allow yourself to follow, sorry?
You already calmed down my nervous system by telling that little introduction.
That is the thing. And this is what I mean with training your brain, training your mind to do these things. Because as we spoke about earlier, one of the things that happens with these manipulators or slightly negative, they can kind of keep you on eggshells and you're a little bit nervous all the time, on tense, and it makes it very, very difficult to start planning ahead. But if you give yourself, I don't know, what was that, 5 minutes story in your mind, go into that, your system calms down a little bit more.
Can I say something here? Excuse me, can I say something here? What I was going to say is, obviously, nobody wants to be in a situation that continuously evokes a high amount of cortisol production and walking on eggshells, okay? It's a damage to unhealthy. But somebody in a scenario or situation, like work-wise or in a private scenario, obviously they want to engage in damage control, okay?
Yep.
So damage control in a way that they are able to, calm down their nervous system. This is not always easy because it takes a awareness and understanding of your own body, understanding the situation and also the feeling of producing cortisol in that very moment, where you feel like the sensation does it evoke in your body and mind because it produces stress. So how does stress affect you in a certain scenario and moment? When you realize this is happening, you want to help people to get out of this as quickly as possible. The long-term solution would obviously be to remove themselves from the situation, but if this is not possible, they want to have a solution at hand in that very moment. So you were speaking about this mindfulness exercise in order to, calm down the nervous system. Is there anything that you could recommend in that situation to someone that could apply that certain tool very efficiently and recall that maybe scenario for a certain amount of time in order to really reduce the cortisol production in a situation of fight and flight, if you want to say that way?
Again, it's based on one of the things on how the brain specifically works. It is constantly taking in input, comparing it to a memory that resembles the input in some way and adjusts the chemistry That's what put you into this fight or flight situation, right? So you have this loop going on. Stress situation, it reminds you of another stress situation. You create a new memory, you're stacking memories of stress situations on top of each other. The more you have of those, the more you feel trapped in this cycle of them having you in their grip. So splitting that up a little bit, taking the time, and as I mentioned before, it can be these 5 minutes, to create a situation for yourself. Dive into, I can give you an example in a second, dive into something that relaxes your system. It does two things. It relaxes the system, but it also builds a memory. It builds a memory that you can think back on. I actually am capable of feeling good. You're building your level of skill. I can feel good. I can deliberately calm down. Okay. So this way you start to break the cycle, the hold they have on you. You can free yourself of how they're trying to manipulate a little bit more. It doesn't solve everything, but it makes it better. Like,
do you think pessimism per se, because you could even see your life in a very pessimistic way. If you don't have problems, issues going on, but it's hard for someone who is in a difficult situation work-wise or in their professional life to be positive and to develop positive thinking. Then obviously it depends on what you find as difficult. You know, some people are more stress resistant, some people are less stress resistant. But pessimism is something that definitely is being developed in the mind. The more you engage in negative thinking, the more these sort of neural pathways are going to be developed and also strengthened in your brain. Pessimism on a mental level, on a mind level, how could you get out of that trap? And that's very interesting because some people are definitely caught in a very pessimistic mental, pathway. And to tell me, okay, this is one factor. Okay, create the awareness and understand you're actually in a negative mindset loop, but there's a way out of it. And how do you really develop that path of getting out from that pessimistic mental mindset towards a more positive one?
Well, one of the starting points we mentioned in an earlier talk is actually to have some sort of a useful reference, like you see someone treating other people differently than how you're being treated. Like some sort of useful reference. Things can be different. There are better situations out there. And it's very, very useful to see these things, to notice them, to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
This really helps internally because that will also be a memory, right? That can add to your experience. But again, for those people who see this, I can add something right now so you can start building these little helpful things, because just simply experience yourself that you can feel better in the easiest of ways, right? There's a couple of ways you can find a memory you had that might be a good experience, and we can use that. Or sometimes we have had an experience. Maybe you have hugged someone and you really enjoyed it, right?
So saying a hug, it's very good for the mind to hug. Tara Sword actually said recently that you should have 10 hugs per day in order to, get your mind into a very healthy mental landscape scenario. Hey, it's not a little thing, go around and have 10 hugs per day. I mean, there's a lot of hugging to do, but it definitely helps producing oxytocin, which is very enriching and helps us to feel better about ourselves. And I like what you just said, because in that scenario, you can, define yourself as someone who's valued, and at the end of the day, you want to be valued. For example, if you're at work and you're not happy with your, maybe boss or colleagues, and you don't feel valued at all, it even happen in your relationship. But just imagine you don't feel valued. How can you convince yourself that you're actually someone who deserves to be valued? You said it. Create a new memory. Put yourself out of the scenario. Meet someone else who actually gives you that sort of, confirmation that you have a certain value.
Right. This is where I understand people. I don't approve of it, but where I understand people who start seeking attention from people outside of the relationship. That can lead down bad roads as well. Right? But it makes a lot of sense because they don't feel valued at home. And this is not a place you want to be in. And it can really create problems and so on. But there is actually a quite interesting little way of doing it. And we dive into something here, it seems almost magical. But the brain, each brain has its own little understanding of the value that you have. If you play along for a second, you might have an understanding of my value is here. It's at a certain level, right?
Okay.
And then I would simply ask people, if we say, I just need to check the screen, if this is virtually no value and this is at the highest level of value, and if you feel you are kind of here, just follow along for this. What happens when you allow to raise this? What goes on?
Well, you definitely feel more self-confident. Depends on everybody's reaction, but I believe more joy, more self-appreciation, obviously the production of more oxytocin, happiness hormones, and so on. You name it, right?
This is really, really beautiful because it is in fact a little bit different for everyone. So when I do these things for people, I have to pay close attention to how they react. That's why I ask. For some people, when I raise their own experience of confidence, suddenly it's uncomfortable because they feel, oh, other people wouldn't like me like that. Oh, okay. And then I figure out, it's because they think confidence is the same as arrogance. They don't want more arrogance. Oh, that makes sense. And then I change. Okay, so let's lower it a little bit. Stay connected with the people that matter to you, and then raise it in a good way where they like it. And what so quickly happens, they shoot all the way to the top. This is fantastic. And I ask, so how do people around you react? And they love it, right? So it is. What I do is I find what works for the person, and then I enhance that. It's much easier than some technical something that I read in a book or someone has found somewhere. The unique thing that works for that person, adjusted to that situation, and then power that up. Sometimes it's my voice I got to do it with because they react a lot to the voice. Sometimes it's the hand gesture. Thank God I'm very big. I can create big emotions. I can use this and I do that for them to build a tool that they can take with them and go out and live their lives the way they want to. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Well, that's an amazing tool, but how do you do that in that specific situation, to help them raise their confidence or to understand how to boost their confidence through various tools or certain techniques in that very moment? Can you explore that a little bit better?
Sure. And there's also something I have to pay attention to when I'm doing. There's a little bit more women I work with than men. It's not too much. But anyway, some women in the beginning said they would like more confidence. And I said, yeah, the easiest thing in the world for me to do that. So I find the way that works for them. I raise their confidence level. They feel good about themselves. They go out, live their lives, and come back maybe 2 weeks later, and they say, my partner doesn't like it.
That's good.
Oh, oops. And I mean, the people I work with are generally fine because I also give them some other things around it. But that was an important feedback. If the relationship is such a way that the man needs to feel above the woman to enjoy the relationship, I gotta watch out what I do for them, right? If I just raise their confidence level that they go tell this not great person, idiot, I'm leaving as well, and he's dangerous, we have a problem. So this is why I do this back and forth with them. What would that be like when you have this confidence? What's likely to happen? And I tell people, be gentle about it. Don't just, that can backfire. Does that make sense, or was there more to the question?
Sense. To work on their confidence in various sessions, obviously you need to have like some kind of like monetization technique in order to understand what was your point of departure, where have you arrived within 1 or 2 or 3 sessions, obviously, to see how the person feels about it, you know, because maybe they're low at the beginning, and in course of the coaching program, they felt much better for themselves, because you probably analyze their situation a lot and you discuss with them what their current issues are, and then you discover maybe the issue lies inside of the relationship, and it's also something that, because they are missing the certain evaluation that they were looking for, because sometimes you do not withdraw your evaluation from within yourself, because you're asking for outside evaluation partner, and then probably you discover maybe you can attach to a tool in order to draw your resources from yourself, from within.
That's where the chemistry is anyway.
Pardon?
That's where the chemistry is anyway. It's inside of us. That's where we create the feeling of confidence, of value, of curiosity to meet new people. It's all in here, and it's okay to have some level of attachment to the outside world, because if we just run around and think, I'm amazing at everything I do, and people hate us, maybe something is off a little bit. Does this make sense of that? Now, no one hates you, you're amazing, but for other people. And it's good to have a little bit of feedback from people we actually value. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. We can't just be ignorant to whatever feedback or resonance we get from the outside world. We can't be blind to it and say, okay, I'm so wonderful, I'm so gorgeous, I'm so fantastic and so intelligent. Who cares what other people think of me? I think you have to understand or to accept the outside feedback and, you know, get affected by it in a certain way, but I still believe it should not affect you too much, because that correctly, first of all, you should be able to fill your cup from within and to draw the resources from yourself, obviously. But at the same time, I do think that once we start understanding ourselves, accepting ourselves in a way we can be self-sufficient on an emotional level, the necessity of getting attached to someone else as some sort of, you know, uncomfortable form of attachment, that can get a little bit out of balance and unhealthy.
I would avoid that. It's exactly correct what you're saying. And it becomes a little bit fluid exactly how to do this. The reason I mentioned this, that we benefit from paying attention to the people around us. There are those who just don't listen to them, right? Not important. But if we, in our interaction with the other person, if I say something and I notice that you react differently than I thought maybe you would, I'm thinking, I probably said that wrong, or at least I need to pay attention now, how you're acting, what you're saying, choice of words, the topic, and like, okay, I said it in that way, I see the mistake I made, I correct. this is where feedback from the other person really adds value to it. And I like the approach. The feedback I get from you, or the person I'm talking to, is an indication of what I said, what that meant to that person. Mm-hmm. Because in my head, I have this fantastic idea of what I'm about to say, and it sounds great. That's why I'm saying it. Mm-hmm. But it might come out differently, and like, well, something weird happened. That's not what I was intending for. And this is what I mean with paying attention. But it's not about becoming a slave to what they say. They are not. They know everything and stuff. And also depends very much who it is. If it's my daughter, she's just 6, right? She doesn't know everything, but she thinks she does. Yeah. Right? And there are moments where I say something and she gets sad. I'm like, oh, okay, but I'm not quite sure what happened there and so on. But then I'll adjust. I'll try to figure out why does that make me sad? And maybe it's because it's someone they just met a little bit. Yeah, someone she just met and they like them, but they don't know what. So I gotta pick up on their situation. Why was that misunderstood? How should I explain it that it works? So it's a constant process. It's a feedback. It's a paying attention to one. And for instance, when I'm interacting with you, and I actually do pay attention to not just the smile, but the skin color, the pupils, the head movements. Is it tilted a bit forward or a bit back? Right? Turning this way or that. This, by the way, doesn't mean I'm not interested. When I do that, it's because, this sounds interesting. I put my hands like this so I can stay here for a long time and listen to you. Right? So every person has the differences in their body language and the meaning and so on. But when you pay attention to them, and this is in some sense letting their feedback matter. Make sense?
I believe you, because you're skilled in these tricks, let's say, because analyzing the body language, even the skin color of the person you talk to, is not something that people regularly do because they're not trained, because they don't pay attention to that. You can read people in a different way that obviously the average person cannot do, because obviously they never deal with it, they're not interested in it, or because it simply doesn't serve them. It's a great point. You have that certain awareness, and I think the average person does have that in a subconscious level, on a subconscious level.
There's something there.
You see that?
Yes, your phone is congratulating your greatness. It's that one. That's the one that starts it. Depends on the
so sweet. What I was going to say is, on a subconscious level, we are able to read energies. Do you want to call it energy? Do you want to call it vibe? We feel things, don't we? Not virtually. I mean, you and I, maybe we do because we're very trained. So obviously we can, even virtually understand. You hear me?
I hear you. I was just saying we are super smart.
We're like a bit more psychic, but the average person has a certain basic skill available as well. So you know when you meet someone, when you're in a room with someone, how they feel generally about themselves and about you, don't you? Even if it's nonverbal, even if the mouth talks a different language than their energy. Have you been in such a situation when you were encountering someone that gives you a different vibe and energy than actually the way they spoke? It does happen to me quite often. Have you had experience with that or not?
I've had some of that, yeah. But the more frequently, the most of the times when that happened was for me because people were very nervous. Mm-hmm. I was the leader of it. I met hundreds and hundreds of people, and often had to pick up on their energy or vibe or whatever, very, very quickly to figure out who to send them over to. So I could say hi to the next person, send them over there, so people felt welcome and felt understood, a part of it, and so on. So it did become a skill by pure practice, and because I had to do it really quickly. But there were also those being so nervous that what they said and what they did just was one chaotic mess of information at the time. And I got better and at the end quite good at picking up on, oh, this is where they're coming from. This is the person behind it, because the words are coming out. They don't tell the entire story. So it's a part of the story. The body language is part of the story and so on. But also this, what I mean, constraint, where they're kind of, they're keeping themselves contained, but their hands are kind of want to move. I mean, baby T-Rex, they want to do this, want to move around. So see, if I can put them in a relaxed situation, I can get a better impression of who they are. So,
sure. Do you think that there is one capacity that successful people have an advantage in comparison to people that, you know, maybe do not follow successful careers, in terms of emotional detachment abilities? How does, you know, maybe that's not the right way to put it, but I don't want to say success in the professional world necessarily, but people who feel confident about themselves and are able to fill their cup without necessarily the outside recognition all the time. Do they have the ability to actually avoid individuals, toxic individuals or narcissistic people in their lives? How would you see that? Like, is there some sort of formula or some sort of, you know, tool that we could recommend to other people, you know, how to train themselves in a way so they can keep emotionally detached, but detached in a healthy way, because you want to be kind of like united with someone you love, friends and family, obviously, but you know what I mean? Does it make sense?
I think it does. I mean, at least I have professional examples of it. This may sound like something different, but it's the same point. I know several doctors, right? Some of them are surgeons as well, and maybe operating on little children. And I was like, well, you know, I said, oh, I could not do that. And I talk to them, and they say, in that moment when I'm operating, it's not a human being. I don't mean this in a negative sense, but I'm operating on something. My job is to make this work, make this be good, make the body work again and put things the way it's supposed to be. And after that, I connect with a human being. But if I'm too connected to the human being in that moment, I can't cut in them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In certain professions, you need to be able to detach so you can do what needs to be done. But then sometimes what happens is they do that for so long, they become almost constantly detached.
Yeah, I heard that, especially with doctors, yeah.
And it's also with lots of wealthy people that I know.
Wow. Comparison, go ahead. Like,
one of the things that happen, they become so focused on the business that they're detached from the people. Makes sense? It's just the money. It's just this thing. It's just that. And that becomes a habit that the people doesn't really matter. They're just means to reach a goal with, right? It's not a true connection.
is it? That's not
Sorry?
necessarily healthy, but it would be a good tool and ability if you want to, you know, improve your business level, I guess. you know.
It's one of the things I highlight what I'm doing is my skill, right? Because there's a skill to jumping into that situation. Sometimes you need to do it. Like if someone is in a car crash and the paramedics or the rescue people come, you don't want them standing around crying and feel bad for you. You want help. So it's necessary that they can detach, do the things that will give you safety, that will make your life better, right? But you don't want them to get stuck in that emotion, so they can't be with their partner. You know, they can't love their wife or their husband or their children because they're constantly detached. So the real skill here is the ability to jump into the most useful state right now, and then jump into what's the next new most useful state. And that could be coming home, relaxing, being with the people they want, letting go of potential bad things that might be swirling around back of their mind. And this is one of the skills, being able to do that, because in itself, it can be enormously valuable. But if you get stuck in there, it steals your joy of living. It's damaging without end.
Like a super ability.
Yes.
No, just
Exactly.
from one mental framework to another. It's not an easy to do, I suppose. Sounds pretty difficult to do that, but
You can see an example of it actually happening.
sorry?
You can see an example of that happening on TV, for instance. I don't know if you ever watched a tennis match, like maybe Roger Federer or something, fantastic player. And there would be times where he misses, he doesn't necessarily strike past the ball, but he hits the ball and it goes into the net or it goes out of bounds or something. And then snap into this ball matters. The principle is the same. They are upset because something didn't work. They had an idea in their mind, didn't work. Upset is called prediction error, by the way. And they get upset about that. But if they stay in that, they're going to miss the next one and the next one. So it's clearly an ability that exists in human. Now, these are elite athletes, but often those are the ones we learn from, right? And some businessmen, women, are actually really good at being at work, being highly focused, getting this thing done. And as soon as it's done, they slap the laptop together, close the door in the office, and now they're there with you in that moment. Make sense?
Well, the important thing is that they can actually switch from one moment to another. Yes. That they can leave the work in their office and then in the evening, at the end of the day, go back home to their families, to their wives, and then say, okay, I'm back. No, I'm the nice person now. I let the shark in the office, and that's it. You know.
That's exactly it. But also the other way around. If part of the job you have to do is very much numbers figure, and you have to this, or maybe they have to fire 10% of the staff or things like that, whatever the situation is, and you are consumed by these are my personal friends, all of them, you won't really be able to do that. Now, I'm not saying go and fire people, but treat people well, but you also need to be able to change between what's most useful right now.
I'm going to say that. Let's bring the human being back into the work life, you know. That if we need to be transforming ourselves into the ultimate version of a shark in order to succeed in our professional. I believe human skills and humanization is a very powerful tool, especially nowadays. And in the long term, it's beautiful to see if there are people in leadership positions that do value the person, value of the person per se, rather than seeing them as a number that can exchange rapidly. I think we both agree on that part, obviously. There is good points in the fact that, you know, you need to be able to rationalize and to take, maybe sometimes harsh decisions as firing someone, which is probably an extreme example in a certain scenario, but obviously, to value the person, your employees or your team as human beings is always more beautiful, I suppose, and also in the long run. The boss of a company will probably be loved at the end of his career for having been a very fair and honest person and who cherished his employees. I guess we agree on that front too.
Yeah, fully. I don't want it to sound like I prefer the ruthless killer and then they go home and I'm nice too. Just like that's not what I mean at all. But for instance, an example could be on a football team, like soccer team, and you're playing, and one of your co-players there has problems at home, right? You can stand and hug him and feel sorry for him, but the other team is going to win in the meantime. And this is what I mean with, there can be a short period of time where folks, right now we're doing this thing. I still care about you, but right now we're doing this thing. And as soon as this match is over, you and I sit down and do this. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Sometimes there are things we need to do right now.
Absolutely. On a personal level, however, when one person realizes they are too emotionally dependent on this can happen as well. I know a lot of people are so emotionally dependent on someone else because they seek outside evaluation, and they understand it actually destabilizes them. Oftentimes they run into someone who's probably taking advantage of that, because you can also sense in a way, I guess. And if you run into the wrong kind of person who actually does sense your need for outside evaluation, you could easily play with that, okay? Just let's take an example of one person who's feeling trapped in such a scenario. What would be the ideal tool for them to soften that sort of urgency and need they constantly have? There's something they can do about it, or is it something they can learn? Feeling their need from within. How can they actually learn it? It's learnable.
Yes.
That's good news.
Yes. But what I think, again, the thing is that everyone's a little bit different, so it's a different solution for each people. But one of the ways, if you perceive that your personal value is something you have given to someone else's partner, and they now have your value, it's bad, right? Really bad. If you imagine, just imagine in your mind, this is actually what the mind does really well. Grab your own partner, your own value, and take it back to the point where you can feel it, coming back. Your version of what your power is has some sort of shape, representation, something. Yeah.
I love that. It's amazing what you were just saying, but it's harder to do that while you are in a situation if you've already given away your value to someone else, and this other person, as you described, does hold your value. Let's assume the other person isn't toxic, okay? It's already hard enough for yourself to pull your value back, even if the person is not toxic, because they would actually accept you to keep your own value. They're cool enough to allow you to build your own value without even taking it from you. But it's extremely hard if the other person is indeed toxic. Then you are in a power scenario where they constantly play psychological tricks to put you down. Then it's hard.
They will be playing every trick in their book to keep this power or the thing that you have kind of given to them and so on. And you might also be so used to a situation being like that, you don't necessarily notice that you have done that.
Good point. Yeah.
But here's the thing: with every single person I've worked with, they have some sort of understanding of what this thing is. And they might say it's over there, or there was a woman I was talking to said she lost her patience. Now, patience is actually a process in your mind, it's chemistry and so on. But when I asked her, so where is patience? She said, it's there somewhere. And okay, so if I take this patience and give it back to you, what happens? And she went, it's back.
Really?
And it changed like that. And a couple of months later, she said, it's still there. It's fantastic. And this is the point. This is actually, sorry?
You're a magician.
Well, maybe. But that's just what I mean. This is actually, there's this Nobel Prize winning research on it, that we have this location system in our mind where things are. The fascinating thing is the things that are there includes concepts, ideas like my self-worth. Where is that? It benefits from being here, but sometimes it's out there where other people can see it and validate, oh, I'm so great and so on. But if it's out there, you don't feel it that much in here. And realizing where these things are is enormously helpful. But when you read it and when you move it back in, where it does you good, where it brings you some value, that's when you gain power.
Okay.
And there's so many ways of doing this. I love showing people this because of their smile on their face and sometimes confusion. Like, how did that? And well, actually, you did it. I just showed you how. Right?
Yeah, sometimes it's so easy to explain to other people and to take, your time, and because the awareness isn't always there, even if it seems so clear and obvious to you. A lot of people just don't know about these tools and gifts they could actually simply activate themselves on a daily basis by being mindful, by having awareness and open-mindedness towards themselves in that specific moment, because honestly, it's not always that hard to take your power back in a such a situation. And most relationships, for example, they aren't toxic.
Most aren't, I would say, right?
Most relationships are healthy. There's complications, there can be misunderstandings, there can be fightings, and so on and so forth. But it doesn't necessarily mean that 80% of people out there do live in toxic situationships. It is a little bit prevalent, I have to say. I hear and see it a lot. But at the end of the day, our task as well to do our due diligence when we want to find our partner and new person. And that takes time. And it takes also the certain amount of patience. Like you said last time, you gave a really nice example when you divorced from your ex-wife. You had a period of time where you was just, wanting to go meet other people for conversations, to understand what it feels like to talk to someone else, because you probably didn't feel like dating, you didn't feel like flirting, but you did engage with people from the opposite gender, right? To, get back into the feeling of having some sort of communication, because having been in a marriage and partnership for such a long time, you were really exclusively reserved to one person. So from that exclusivity back into dating someone, you didn't want to do that drastic change from being exclusive with one person to, being so fully open to someone else. You wanted to do it a little bit more gradual, create some activity, start talking to the opposite gender, but not like in the flirtatious way, but in a just, compassionate way, and understand how does it make you feel like, right? So that's also an example, I believe, that you've given there. And that's something I think we can recommend also to other people to maybe join activity groups, all kinds of things.
Yes.
or
Very much.
go to the library, go to cultural events, and so on and so forth, to just be around people from the opposite gender, but not necessarily throw yourself into the dating pool drastically, because it's not everyone's cup of tea, and this is probably not also the right way of finding your partner. A lot of people go on dating apps. It's not for everyone, is it?
I don't think so. I haven't really spent a minuscule time on those. Mostly, actually, the most time I ever spent on those was because I didn't know it was that. Sounds stupid, but it was something called meet meet people, meet good people, something like that. And I was just about to move to a new city, so I figured this makes sense. And my main idea was to have conversations, learn something new, expand my understanding of the opposite sex. It's the thing is that I'm interested in. And it was extraordinary. That was really fascinating. It was, many of them actually became friends over a long time, also after I met my wife.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. We actually have, this was really funny. It was, became friends with a woman in Australia. And when my now wife and I traveled to Australia, and we arranged that we could meet her. And when we met her, she gave, this is the keys to my apartment. You go, and this is the keys to my car. Have fun.
Hey, see? Things can
That was Australia in Melbourne.
have to be like, okay, we not gotta go date and meet someone and, you know, flirt and all that stuff. You can have fun and be around other people that you've just met without the purpose of the ultimate goal of finding a new person. Maybe you want to give yourself the time, you know, to introduce yourself slowly but surely after separate.
There's a lot to be said about normalizing this the sex that you're generally attracted to. That it's not we're here just to have sex or just to find a partner. So many, like let me speak from my many women are quite fascinating to talk with, and I can learn a lot from them. So I listen, pay attention, have conversations, we laugh, we have a disagreement, we talk. I become a better person. I learn, and
Yeah.
then one of them stands out, and that's the one I married. Right?
That's a nice way to do it, and it's beautiful to see that there's men out there like you who are interested in the human being behind the woman, not just buying her and seeing her as some sort of resource for gratification. I don't want to say that everybody else sees a woman in that sense, but we are living in a culture and society that is very transactional.
Yeah.
Women are. I'm not gonna say it's only men. We're very transactional too. We want to have a certain purpose. We want to, you know, immediately see what are the red flags, what are also the green points, and what goes, what are the no goes. You know, without really giving everyone the time to expand themselves in front of us on a personal level. So I believe it's a very nice approach that you just described, and you went to Australia to meet someone you've never dated. That's amazing.
Yeah. No, but I think one of the really, really good things to do is meet people in an environment and things you're interested in. Like if you enjoy cooking, right? There are groups that cook food together and they invite new people. My wife and I do that a lot. I invite almost strangers to our home. If they seem nice, I'll invite them. If their eyes sparkle when we talk about cooking food, some do, and then I invite them to a home and they will have joy, they will talk, they will this. And here's what I always tell people. You might be talking to one person right now, but in fact, you're talking to everyone that person knows.
Wow, I love that. That's so nice.
Right?
So nice. Isn't that beautiful? It's very true. It's absolutely true. It's true. And the nice example that you just gave, okay, you organize like a cooking session at home and you invite all these people. you know what it does to these people? They might never do that. They might stay at home and, you know, watch TV or go out for dinners with their friends sometimes. But it gives the feeling of community, and that produces such a happiness hormone.
Yes.
And it's amazing. I mean, it's good for you because you have all these people, you know, wanting to come back to you because you give them that beautiful feeling. And it's a multiplicatore. It's like a multiplicator. Can you say that in English?
Yes, you can now.
Pardon?
We just introduce the word, if nothing else. You can say that. I know what you mean, that it makes it much bigger, much stronger. Right?
Yeah, it makes it much bigger and stronger, and for our well-being, even for the way we feel about ourselves. And even that can be changed.
Yeah.
I think
easily. That's the thing.
Yeah. However we feel about ourselves right now, if it's not so positive, it can be changed by introducing new habits, by meeting new people, by creating new validation. And this validation can come from the inside, because the way we talk to ourselves is going to change once we engage in very positive experiences and also habits. And having positive experiences and habits will obviously change the way we feel about ourselves. And that, on the other hand, will attract better people, better in the sense of friendlier people, maybe people that are more aligned with us.
Exactly. And this is the, I'll go back to this cooking event again, because it can be used as a general idea for how to connect with other people. What we do, my wife and I, is I invite people to our home, and everyone can choose freely what they would like to cook.
That's
they
nice.
Bring,
I love. Wow.
They bring the ingredients. They bring the ingredients, and then when they're in our home, they cook, we cook, the other people cook, and we share. Then we cook more food, and we share, and we talk. And here's a hidden. There's a little brilliance hidden in this one. Oh, sorry, you were saying?
No, I just invited myself.
Okay. I was talking, I didn't hear. You should be most welcome. So here's the thing. One of the reasons I do this, that everyone cooks something, is that when you go to a dinner party where everything is made ready for you, you sit down, you feel a little bit like, oops, you know, what do I do now and stuff. Compared to when you are part of creating the event, creating the food, you are equal. You're fairly equal with everyone else. This is already a group creating something together. This is our event. And the people you say hi to at this event, they know other people. You might meet them in the street one day. Oh, hi, I remember and stuff. So there's so much little psychology hidden in there. For instance, I don't tell people where the knives or the forks and stuff are, because they will need it at some point when cooking. So they'll ask one of the others. It's a perfect icebreaker because it's completely legitimate. I can't find the knives. Makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's such a nice thing to do, and it unites others. And even if some have the capacity or the ability to organize big cooking sessions at home, there's other things they can organize or participate in, which is like hiking excursions, where I live, skiing, obviously.
Something with snow.
In summer, all kinds of activities, but also participating in cultural events, going on small trips, and so on and so forth, and making friends.
Small trips.
The opposite sex, friends with the same sex, it doesn't matter.
No.
And that's it. Feel good about yourself first, and then you should close on that note. Find ways how to feel good within yourself and about yourself in order to attract more positivity and happiness. That's it.
And one of the great things of doing things you like, meeting people who also like this and so on, you're off to a great start, right? You don't have to go, you met them on some dating app because you happen to be on the same day and can work, but then you have to go try, is there something that we have in common, right? Maybe not.
I think the sad thing about dating apps is it's too much physically oriented, the way you look, what you earn, what your job is, and so on and so forth. It's just too, structured. It kind of takes away the magic of the person behind it. I don't know if it makes sense. We're more, aren't we?
No, for me, the real magic is when interacting with someone. I say something and I see, oh, they start smiling, and someone, they have an idea, say something, they come up with an idea, they bring something magically happens, right? And it becomes a wow experience that does not happen over text. It's not the same, right? Or if it is anything, it's so much in your own head that you're making them fantastic. And
exactly, but the thing we definitely have to do in that case is to go out. You have to be out.
yes.
Get out of maybe even your own current social circle and change from one social circle to the other and mix with other people, new people, and not stay always with the same, inside the same circle of friends. Because if you happen to be inside the circle of same friends all the time, you will only meet the same people.
Exactly. That is almost your entire world. And sometimes, let's say a couple of friends, they have kids before you do, then they might become very busy with having kids and they don't really have time for you, or you have kids, you feel you have less time with them and so on. So it's very, very useful to keep the very close ones, but also keep the door open to people who share what is now more important in your life and so on. I don't mean just drop all your friends, all the men. It's not that, but stay open, stay curious, stay foolish. I think that was the words of Steve Jobs, right? Have an open mind. Someone might be really nice just right next to you in the supermarket when you're buying food. And I actually start a conversation in the supermarket as well, just because it's fun. Men and women, it's not exclusively.
And we should that it's not a bad thing to stay alone for a certain period of time.
Wow.
A year, 2 years, whatever it takes. Being alone, also good, to develop yourself, to learn more about yourself. And that's good. You want to become clean with yourself, healthy inside, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, before you want to engage with another person. Because just imagine you just came out of a relationship, got divorced, but there's a lot of things that still keep you attached to your past partner. Then you've not come clean with the situation, and you might bring the same issues or something unresolved into the new partnership, which is something you would want to avoid as well.
Yes, definitely. It's not that we have to be perfectly healed and amazing before we enter a new relationship.
Yeah.
But as I said to myself when I got divorced, there's clearly things I don't know about women. I should learn, and which is one of the reasons I started having lots and lots and lots of conversations and actually pay attention to what they were saying. They sounds like it's from a different planet. It's not, but it was really enlightening to realize, all these stories, all these things that happen. So, and it's not just men that bad things happen to. It happens to women as well, but also good things, right? And there are things we have in common, there are things we not have in common. That the realization, it's a human being. That is fantastic, and it's not what is that mysterious thing. It's a human being, right? That really brings value to it. Oh.
I think we should all do that. I think we should definitely engage more in how could I say that, in neutral conversations with opposite sex without any double thought behind it, without wanting
Really great.
just go out, talk, communicate, get to know the opposite gender. That's it. Understand, they do have feelings. Men have feelings, okay? They're not dehumanized, feelingless sharks. It's not the case, as they are often being stigmatized so oftentimes. Obviously, sometimes they're not allowed to show their feelings the way they're brought up. They need to always hide. They have to be tough. They can never cry and all that stuff when they're kids, etc., etc. It turns them into maybe some kind of individuals when, as adults, that are maybe less open to show their emotions. But I believe if you show compassion, if you demonstrate it, they are in a safe space with you, it will be easier for them to open up. And that can even happen in a very casual environment and kind of scenario. Because, come on, it's beautiful to show your emotions and be open-minded about it and not always, to hold back.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. I hope that
it's a great thing. One of the things I do, one of the things I recommend people actually, it's a really useful way of doing it. It's building a habit out of saying friendly things to people without wanting anything. And one of the ways of doing that is if you play the role of someone in a supermarket. And I can't believe, is that a sweater or is it a jacket? What is it you have on? It's a jacket or is it a sweater you have on?
Pardon?
Is that a sweater you have on? Or what is it?
No, it's like a jumper, yeah? What happened?
Okay, I just needed that information. So in the sense of, if I were in a supermarket pushing my little cart there, and I go, well, that's a very nice jacket, and I'm moving. I'm not coming at you. I don't want something from you. I'm just saying something, that's very nice. That looks very nice. And I keep walking that way. It's for the person, it's for me saying that. It's giving a compliment. I don't want anything for it. I just, that looks nice. Here you go. Here's some information, and I keep going.
It works in both ways. It's absolutely true what you say. We can take the opposite example. If you say something negative to someone and it affects the person, which you would normally do, it produces cortisol in the other person's mind or body. But at the same time, you wouldn't believe it, it also produces cortisol in you. And that's so crazy. You think you're saying or doing something bad to another person, but you wouldn't believe it. You're doing something bad to yourself. However, if you start engaging into positive thinking, that positive speaking, it doesn't only create love in the other person, but also inside of yourself. And that's a beautiful thing. And you want to be an individual that is actually more prone to love than obviously to hate, isn't it? It's beautiful. Because that's the thing you're going to attract. You don't want hate.
Right. And it is, just as you say, with hate or with love, if you take those two ones, there's a level of that you accidentally or deliberately practice yourself to one of the two. If you do this more with saying a friendly hi to people, that looks really nice, and then keep walking, it kind of feels good to yourself as well. And they might have a little, that was nice. Why did he say that? And he doesn't want anything. Someone said something nice to me. That's a nice experience, right? So you train yourself, your own mind, to be nice to other people, but they also had the experience, someone said something nice to me. And there are moments where this matters beyond what we can comprehend. If we say something nice to someone we don't even know, they might be having a really bad time, and someone says something nice.
Exactly. We don't even know what is going on an energetic level. We have no idea how much we actually radiate and vibrates on a certain frequency, if we want to go into that briefly. Because you vibrate very friendly, but you only vibrate very friendly because you practice friendliness.
Yeah.
This is not something that you can just pretend. You cannot dictate, is that the right word? You cannot fake your vibration. You cannot fake your, people in general, you can't fake your vibration or energy. You can fake your looks, you can fake your smile, but not your vibration. And that's the thing. If you practice friendliness like you do it, people will react in a very friendly way with you. They will, if you go take the example of the supermarket, when you say something to someone, you now, for example, because you vibrate very high, let's say on this friendliness level, people will look at you and they will just like illuminate and say, oh, this nice person has said something nice to me. Let's say something nice back. But if you take someone grumpy, who's always grumpy and grumpy and grumpy all the time, their nice words probably won't vibrate as high as yours. So it takes more in order to, climb up on that highness echelon. You gotta do the work, and it takes time, and it takes effort, and it takes practice. So what we also want to say to people, don't give up if you don't vibrate high today. All you need to do is practice the positivity, be friendly, practice friendliness, and slowly but surely you will attract more friendliness back. Sure. Isn't it?
That is pretty much how it works. You can always run into an idiot or two. Don't let that discourage you. But they are out there, right? And they are not doing the work, whatever. But being friendly to others without wanting something from it, just like, oh, that looks nice, and while moving on, build slowly but surely a habit into you, and you also get something else out of it. When you're in a conversation with people later in your life, it's very easy for you to give them a compliment, which generally feels nice because you're doing it all the time anyway.
From women to women, it's something not so typical.
You don't know what.
Women to women would not necessarily give so many compliments, but we can do it, definitely. There's nothing wrong about that, and I think it's nice.
Sure.
Men to women.
But you don't do it, or what? Sorry? You don't do it? Women among each other, or what?
Friends, yeah, to friends. To strangers, not so much. It takes a bit of effort, it takes practice, but it's possible. I'm confident about myself. I don't have no problem paying compliments to anyone. I easily do that. But it does take practice. And I think people would really be surprised to receive compliments, even if it's just like, yeah, I love your jumper, or wow, I love your hair, or something like that. Or maybe not just like physical or something, what? I don't know, anything that comes to your mind. It's a nice practice, and I think it's good to say that and to put it out there, because it's all about what you attract in your life. How do you feel about yourself? What do you share with the outside world, and how you resonate? If you resonate positively, this is what you're going to attract into your life. And we're coming back always to the same point. At the end of this day, we're turning around in circles. But you said it. You definitely said it the way it is, and you gave a really good example with practicing activity and complimenting others. I hadn't thought of that really, but definitely improving your mindset, and at the end of the day, that is it. Creating neural pathways, creating the ability to feel better about yourself, because if you think better about yourself, you will ultimately feel better about yourself. It's like a symphony between the two dimensions, the physical and the emotional. They always play together, don't they?
Yeah. It's an ongoing practice, and it's self-rewarding. That's the great part of it. So it doesn't take long. Say something nice to someone, but you don't want anything. You're just saying something nice and walking on. That becomes self-rewarding. Maybe if you see there's a smile or something, but that's not the overly important part. Being nice to others without wanting something for it. Maybe that's a sense. Maybe there's a little bit of like gratitude in that. I don't know. That's just a thought into my mind right now. But definitely my experience is I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the place where I'm doing it, right? And the interactions and so on. And I think about it this way. There might be a day where I'm having a bad day. And it doesn't happen often, but it might happen. And if I'm there and one of them goes, oh, nice color of a jumper. Oh, huh. Suddenly it comes back.
Yeah, but it's already the way you say it, your facial expression, the tone of your voice, you know, it comes with a lot of empathy, but to practice that it takes, you know, time. It takes definitely, and not everybody is like that because, as I said, to make it come across as authentic, that's another thing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it doesn't, it's not like that, right? It's like everything else, practice, right? But it should be based on good practice, right? And then with a starting point that feels somewhat natural to you, but you are a little bit in the area that's unknown, so there's a balance, right? I often advise people to take little steps. Me personally, I can go out there and start doing it and then see what happens. And that normally works out really well for me, but it's definitely not for everyone.
And it's fun, isn't it? It's super fun.
It's so much fun, yes.
They don't expect, and you get these positive reactions. You're like, wow, that worked. I'm gonna do that again.
Yeah.
And then to close off here, maybe we want to give also the opposite example. If you happen to encounter someone who does the opposite, if you have maybe in unexpected scenarios to receive negativity. I'm not saying the universe is sending you negativity, but it can happen that you're in a scenario where maybe you go to the supermarket. Let's take the supermarket example, right? And someone is there with a trolley and they're pushing you, or you know, they just giving you this cake, or they surpassing you in the line in front of the casa. And you're just like, what is happening here? You know, I have 2 minutes left, and this person is, you know, just trying to sneak in front of me, or they just, you know, kick me to the side, and you just get this anger rush.
Okay.
This anger rush, and like, whoa, I want to say something back, or I want to give them my worst look of arrogance. I can't get out of it. Not sure if you can do that. I can.
I'm much too happy.
But let's say that would be the first reaction, okay? But you know, okay, that is going to produce more negativity. At the end of the day, you're gonna get out of the store pissed off, angry, frustrated, negative, and in an emotional state. You can either switch after a second, or some people stay in that negativity for the rest of the day. People who are not aware, people who are not in self-control, obviously, might even stay there for the rest of the day. This is all right. So let's take the supermarket example again. This has actually happened to you. What's happening? You know, how would you counteract in order to avoid production of cortisol?
But there are more than one level too. I'm not going to claim you to be the Dalai Lama or something like that.
Bring peace.
Yeah. But let's keep it in. I don't actually have an example of that happening. It's more maybe that someone looks really grumpy or something like that, and my thinking is just, oh, grumpy. And even the head movement is, ooh, grumpy. I kind of pull myself away from the situation. Necessarily want to have anything to do with them, and I typically don't have to. Right? They might be there, but there is a choice on my side. Do I want to interact with them or not? And typically, the answer is I don't. Why would I want to talk to them? If they are, as you said, cutting in line of you or being rude or something like that, I would deal with that. But that's not typically what happens to me. I don't know. I'm almost 2 meters tall. And a lot of kilos and stuff. Maybe people think, "Ooh, not him," or something. That's not, I think generally people are very, very nice and friendly and so on. And I don't cut in front of others. They typically don't cut in front of me. But I do understand the question in that sense. I think I would have to ask someone what it's like for them, because it doesn't really happen to me that I know of. I'm sorry to disappoint, but I can't give that. That's the best answer I can give to that.
Excuse me, how does it make you feel that you just actually bumped into me? Can you explain the necessity and the purpose of this action?
I'm already starting laughing.
Sorry, I didn't mean it that way. It's actually a good point, because you're showing that you call them in action. I love that.
Sure, yeah. There are lots of options. Sorry?
Being like a reckless individual like that, motherfucker, you know?
Yeah. There are lots of things that can go on. Lots of things you can do. Have you ever noticed that you typically come up with the best answer after, when they're not there anymore?
Probably, for sure.
Yeah. Which is a little bit annoying. But there are these moments where you come up with something really brilliant answer and stuff. But for me, most of the time, I just, okay, they are grumpy about something.
Me too, actually.
And since I typically don't really want something from them, that's also the learning from just giving a compliment while moving on. I don't want something from the person. I'm existing here, coexisting with you and so on. I can choose if I want to make this something I participate in, or just do what I'm doing already. Just being on my way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think to close off this whole thing, we should say that
What was that?
Engaging with other people without it wanting anything from that. I think that's what we should do often. Engage the feeling of community, you know?
Yes. There are. I find a lot of whoa. Okay, I thought you.
Charge because the battery is not getting back.
How big is that?
Yeah, I need to hold my phone because I need to charge it. Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I kind of lost the thread here. I was so excited about you moving the phone around.
Okay. You wanted to see the snow.
It's the snow. It's all about the snow, right?
Snowstorm.
So I think there's a lot of good things in this, that we live our lives and do things, but also being aware you don't have to interact with that other person. Typically not. It's if they are an annoying person or I don't know, grumpy or whatever like that, typically the easy thing to do is not interact with them because they're not important right now. It's not in a good state or whatever. It's not your task to necessarily do anything about it. Unless they're taking things from you, that's different. Right?
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
I guess so.
That we don't have to fight every little fight. Some of them are, you know, it's not important.
And keep a cool habit, just like keep a cool state of mind in any case. You know, even if somebody wants to start a fight or be disrespectful, the best thing about it is always to keep calm, take a deep breath, think before throwing out impulsive reactions.
Typically, yes.
Yeah. All right, it's getting cold in here. I need to put the heating on.
Okay.
Let's make another. Thanks for the chat, and gives me a lot of food for thought for the next.
Thanks.
Okay.
See you soon. Enjoy your day and warm up the place. And
keep us updated for your next cooking session. You know, we're going to let everybody know and keep some places reserved for everybody who wants to join.
I should probably do something at the Lake Lucerne.
You should first
open air.
if she's up for it.
Yeah.
With everybody's gonna register. Can I come live? Can I also come? We live.
We actually did a lot of picnics like a year or two back, and before that time, where people would bring something, everyone brings something. We sit on blankets at the lake and we share and talk.
Lovely. Do you do that in winter?
Sorry?
Do you do that in winter?
I haven't. We did snowshoe walks in the mountains with picnic and fondue and stuff. So that was really nice. By the way.
I know what we should do before Christmas. We should organize a punch somewhere around the lake.
Right.
I'm not joking.
That's something else. Huh?
I'm not joking. We're gonna invite.
Oh, okay.
Then we're gonna do a live at the
Right.
lake. Pre-Christmas live at the lake. Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. See you then.
Enjoy. See you.
Ciao. Ciao, 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 ciao. Thank you.
Thank you.